Good morning. It's Monday, the 6th of November, and I'm at the very beautiful Sanquhar Loch. It's very full. We've had lots and lots of rain and stuff over the last couple of weeks or so, and so it's very, very abundant, and the water's nice and high. There are times when there's no water where we're looking right now, so yeah, the ducks and the swans and all the waterfowl are very, very happy. It's a beautiful temperature. There's no wind, which makes it extremely pleasant. And just out for a little walk, and thought I'd invite you to come along. I mean, the colours of autumn in this country are just stunning. There are places that you travel, you drive through, you walk through, and your breath is taken away. And sometimes you're just lost in wonder. I mean, look at this. Yeah, and it's just... Isn't it magnificent? Huge tall trees. One wonders what they might have to say to us if they could indeed speak English. They do talk to us clearly, but we don't all talk tree, do we? Anyway, I'm enjoying this beautiful walk and wondering about what might be on my mind, and I found the last couple of days a bit wondering about clumsiness or something. It feels, and I mean, I'm not naturally clumsy. We can all be clumsy at different times, but I'm not necessarily clumsy as a normal part. But I have noticed that I keep knocking things over or dropping things, and I recognized what was happening. It's almost got something to do with time and a personal sense of that. Oh, we have a little doggy. Oh, hi. Hi. Hello, little one. Good morning. So it's almost like physically and mentally I'm operating at different speeds almost. And so it's physically, mentally, and then there's the reality of the time construct in this linear world, in this 3D material world, which is, in my mind, a simulation. But hey, call me a nut, call me a weirdo, that's me. It's a magnificent one, don't get me wrong. And then, of course, it's not so magnificent where there's stuff happening like what's going on in the Middle East. But before I move into that subject, and I may find another rabbit hole to run down, talking about time. And I'm wondering why this is all happening, why I'm suddenly feeling like, not uncertain or whatever, but yeah, it's a strange feeling. It's not a bad feeling. I'm not... Good morning. Hi. I'm not afraid or concerned or anything. I'm just recognizing something that's unusual. And then I see online that there are very strong solar storms hitting the Earth, or have been over the last, I don't know how many hours or whatever, geomagnetic storms. And that's the reason why there's been extraordinary aurora seen all over the place and in unusual places. I believe they've been seen in Bulgaria, and the post I read said they're never seen there. So perhaps the geomagnetic storms are what is affecting the way time and space and physicality and everything is working. There's like almost they're working out of step with each other. Yeah, it's a strange one. And I'm not saying it hasn't happened before. I'm just saying this time I'm recognizing it. Isn't this lovely? Oh, every time I've ever come here, I've thought, oh, what a wonderful place to come for a picnic. And been wondering that for about 6 years now. Gosh. Perhaps we should do those things that we wonder about every now and then, so that we can't say, I wish I had. But we can say, remember the time we did. Anyway, onwards and upwards through this beautiful space. Okay, so I can return to what's happening in the Middle East and the way that people are being constantly pitted against each other. You know, the others. The others are those that are not me and mine, and the way that I think and the way that I interact and respond and believe. And I use the I in a very general sense because Laura has come to a very neutral space. I used to be strongly opinionated and strongly associated with different places, people groups, belief systems, doctrines, practices. And I just am not anymore. I'm so not wanting to feel like I know more than someone else. I know better, or I know the truth, because over many years now, all the things that I was so terribly, desperately, absolutely certain of have been shown to be, I don't know, I'm not going to say not true, but not true for all, you know. And then who am I to say that I have the ultimate truth? And I come from that culture and background and what have you, because that is what Christianity teaches, you know. And then when you dare, and I really do mean it, you know, when you dare to stop drinking the Kool-Aid, that does sound a bit harsh, but perhaps that really is what it is. When you stop and you step back and you become you go on that journey. Because until we realize that every thought we think and everything we say is not our thoughts and our words, because they have come over years of teaching, otherwise known as programming. And, you know, the people who came before you and the people who came before them, it's all part of that. You don't really know who you really are. And the journey to knowing who you really are means you have to unhook from everything that feeds your perceptions, that feeds the way that you perceive the world about you, history, future, present, all the constructs, all the social constructs. And that includes family, friendship, generations, social groupings, race, gender, all of that. We've all have a sense of, it's all constructed and we all have a sense of what we know to be true, and that's fine, because that's mostly how things work well. You know, society has constructed itself along some fairly and reasonably harmonious ways of existing. But there's always the place for conflict. There's always the place for, you know, there is low vibrational emotional states. Hurt, disappointment, anger, resentment, violence, aggression, and so on and so forth. Just that sense of vengeance, you know. It happens all the time, and a lot of the time it happens inside us without us necessarily even being aware of it. You know, somebody did you wrong sometime, some ago, and then you hear something bad's happened to them and you go, karma, they deserve, oh well, what goes around comes around. It's things that we're programmed to think and say, but speak of a vengeful nature, which speak of us being a little bit glad that somebody got to feel a bit of the, I don't know, pain or suffering or what have you, that maybe I did or they... that maybe they applied, you know, or displayed. And these are small little examples of how that can easily be manipulated to motivate people towards far greater acts of disconnect, conflict, etc. Instead of seeing us all as one race, the human race, brothers and sisters. Some of us just have a little bit of difference in our colouring and our cosmetic makeup, aesthetic makeup. But as the surgeon said when I was in the theatre the one day, and he had to open the abdomen of a patient, and we looked inside, and he said everything on the inside of the human looks just the same. You know, all the same structures, the same colours, the same functions. Tiny little genetic differences, I suppose. Perhaps, I don't know, but that's what he said, and I remember being quite fascinated by that. Not because I didn't know it, but because now I visually saw it. It was represented before me, and it became very real in that moment. So there's the big thing on at the moment, calling for the ceasefire and the what have you, and I've posted that on as a banner on Facebook. And I noticed a comment on there that said, not until every terrorist is dead. And I understand that person's standpoint. I really do. I lived through a war. And so it was very easy to have a them and us perspective. But I never stopped for a moment to think about them. I only thought about us. I didn't consider where they might be coming from. Only considered where we had to come from and how we had to respond, etc. That's always what it is. If we see people as them and us, instead of tools, pawns, and perhaps to some degree automatons. You know, perhaps there has been complete and utter creation by forces way above way above what you and I could possibly conceive, that have fomented everything that keeps us in conflict with each other, that keeps us divided to some degree or other. And of course, this is in regard to how religions view other religions, how races view other races, how genders view other genders. We're always taught, not always taught, there is always that kind of thing that there is, that we're of one kind and they're of another kind, instead of they are us and we are them. And if I hurt them, I hurt us, because we are one. And I just hope that when people read "Ceasefire, Stop the Killing," they don't see a flag being raised for any individual people group, any nationality, because that's not what it's about. Let's just stop the killing. Let's just stop killing each other. Let's stop being played by the puppet masters in the compartments above us. And let's just say, no, not in my name. I will not. And I don't know. As for me and I and my household, we choose to be neutral. That's what we choose. Because if you step into the shoes of the other, you discover the seeds of where their behavior began. And I remember reading the book Trinity by Leon Uris many, many years ago, decades ago now. And it's the book on essentially how the IRA actually was started. And I remember reading it, and at the time the IRA were like the big evil terrorists, etc., etc., and we all had to, I don't know, they were the bad guys because they were using terrorism against innocents. And then you read the book into some of the history as to why there was a group that felt it necessary. And then every group gets taken over by a radical element that is either put in place by an agency that wishes to use this to another end, or by people who just have lost their ability to self-control or see beyond themselves. And history's replete with these types of examples. But I remember thinking, oh my goodness, if it had have been me at that time, I might have become that. If that had have been my experience, I cannot say that I wouldn't have joined or done or been. The same applies to South Africa's history, Zimbabwe's history, British history, the world's history. Go back as far as you can, as far as you like, follow the money, and you'll see where it all is initiated. So let's not play their game. Make a decision not to play the game. When you get invited to take a stand, a position, have an opinion, to be for or against, choose to be for human beings, choose to be for life, choose to be for peace, not for a group, a country, a nationality, a mindset, a political ideology, a religious ideology. Just be neutral, pro-life, pro-choice, pro-autonomy, pro-human, pro-peace. That's where I'm coming from at the moment now. The water mic coming over here is extraordinary. You may not hear my what I'm saying. Oh, isn't that beautiful? So beautiful. Anyway, time to go to the car and get on with my day. Thanks for meandering through the forest. And whether you listened or didn't listen, doesn't matter, because at the end of the day, it's the beauty of the space that is actually what has just truly blessed me this morning. Lots of love. Bye.